All right, Rush Limbaugh slamming Speaker of the House in name only Pelosi and the House Democrats for their distraction tactics, and amid a great win for the United States, the death of al-Baghdadi. Take a listen.
Nancy Pelosi has decided that the best way to distract from Trump killing Baghdadi, and by the way, we got his successor the next day. Al-Baghdadi's successor is also now room temperature. Actually, Baghdadi never made room temperature. He was vaporized at about 3,000 degrees with his own explosive suicide vest. But we got his successor. So Pelosi got to distract from that. Can't have her party sympathizing too long with al-Baghdadi. So she has announced the House is finally going to vote on Thursday whether to hold an impeachment inquiry or not. This still is not the vote everybody thinks it is.
Now, former Bush administration, Deputy Chief of Staff, Fox News contributor Karl Rove, Michael Best, Law President, former Trump Chief of Staff Reince Priebus. All right, Karl, it's a phony resolution. It offers nothing that Newt offered Clinton. What is the political fallout of this in the end?
Well, it's clearly an attempt by the Democrats to sort of, they began to feel the heat from the public criticism about failing to be fair and to give due process and give the president his rights in this process. So they've come up with a phony temporary measure. Yeah, you Republicans can suggest witnesses and you can suggest questions, but you got to get our permission first. And so, no, this is ridiculous. If they were really honest about wanting a fair and impartial system of investigating this matter in which the president had his rights, they keep saying he's not above the law. Well, apparently they believe that he's not under the law either because it doesn't apply to him. They would have passed the same rules that were in effect for the 1998 impeachment of Bill Clinton and for the 1973-74 impeachment of Richard Nixon. They would have allowed the minority to call witnesses, the minority to take depositions, for statements to be made public, for the president to have a lawyer present in all of the staff meetings, to suggest witnesses, to ask questions, and at the end of the presentation of the evidence, to state the president's position on that material. But nope, they're going to do it their way, and their way is one-sided and not transparent and completely unfair.
And Reince, Schiff is a compromised fact witness in the case. Let's assume they impeach Trump in the House, goes nowhere in the Senate. How does it impact 2020?
Well, you already saw it, Sean, in the poll last week, the Marquette poll in Wisconsin, which is the biggest must-win state in America, and it showed that only 41% of the people in Wisconsin support impeachment, which is one of the worst numbers in the entire country. And Carl's right. Look, I think the Republicans, I think the leadership on the Republican side, you, Sean, so many others have done a great job in pushing back on the issue of this being totally procedurally flawed. The American people are getting it that this is a hose job. It actually started with, I thought, Matt Gaetz last week by charging into the Star Chamber was brilliant last week. People gave him a hard time about it, but he shed light on what was happening. But what I'd like to see, Sean, now the Republicans have to start pushing back on the merits. They've done a good job on procedure, but like a motion to dismiss. The White House counsel's office put out a 3-page paper and say, look, if everything you say is true, Democrats, if everything you said is true about President Trump, this is why your case should be dismissed, because it doesn't state a claim upon which relief can be granted. It's time to argue the merits as well, Sean, on this case and put it to bed.
Listen, Karl, the president had a duty to look into election interference that a Ukraine court and Politico wrote about. He also had a duty. I look at Biden's quid pro quo and leveraging our money and the millions that go to his son with no experience. Imagine if it was Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to dissent from Hannity and Priebus, because that's a dangerous pair to be on the opposite side of.
Going against me is very dangerous. Yeah,
there we go. Let's spend a little bit more time, though, talking about process. Let's not immediately pivot. We've got another couple of days in which we need to highlight this because we're now starting to get the message through to the American people. Otherwise, the Democrats would not have come up with this fake maneuver. So let's spend a couple of more days pounding away on how unfair this is. Get ourselves through Wednesday, get ourselves through Thursday, get ourselves through Friday. But I agree with you. We need to begin to make the pivot to the
I agree with you, Carl. But we've got to talk merits at some point. The reason the Mueller probe kind of fell apart was that there was never a crime of collusion, and then it just became an obstruction case.
The president did his duty. That's the irony. More Hannity next.